except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Oh, good morning, Robertson County. This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn Laverne, and that's our Ridgetop Ramblers singing us in with our theme song, One Street Over. What's going on? One street over from where you're located. That's what we tried to find out here. And every month we get a wonderful visit from my friend Danavyn Hylton. He is in the house, and he always tries to bring somebody interesting. So you're bringing Dominik Hudson.
Yes.
Second half of the show. Tell me a little bit about Dominik. What's Dominik's story?
So Dominik and I met at the Metro Nashville Music City Community Court Division 8 Expungement Clinic with Judge Joel Perry.
Interesting. Okay, that's a mouthful.
Yes.
That's a mouthful. I love it. So we went on a tour we're doing this expungement clinic. Right.
And so General Sessions Judge Division 8 in Metro Nashville, Judge Rachel Bell invited General Sessions Judge Joel Perry to come down to the expungement clinic. And Judge Perry was kind enough to invite some of his Springfield friends and community leaders, such as myself, Pastor Robert Gardner from City of Faith, our friend Mr. Gregory Bell from CARES, and his wife Pamela.
Oh, wonderful!
As well as Dominik, who was also a guest of Pastor Gardner.
Awesome.
And his story, which I want to save.
Okay,
is
when he gets there.
So unique that I just had to invite him on today.
Well, he'll be in here for the second half hour, right? He's
That's
coming
correct.
in about 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so and one thing, since you mentioned the Judge Joel Perry, Judge Perry is going to be on tomorrow to kick off his campaign. Basically, he's got a campaign kickoff tomorrow night, and so he's buying the first half hour of the show. So it is a paid political segment that we're going to do tomorrow morning from 7 to 7:30, and Judge Joel Perry will be in here, and it's just a way to say, hey, I want you to get out here tonight and come to the opening of the campaign. And the reason we're doing that is, honestly, I didn't have anything open this week for him. And so I told him, I said, we could do this. And so that's ILU allowed him to purchase that first half hour tomorrow. So we will do paid political programming from 7 to 7:30 tomorrow.
All right.
But everybody knows I'm a big fan of the judge, and he's somebody that the stuff he's done with Recovery Court is just incredible, and he will be the first to say, man, it's the people around, it's all those that are a part of it, but it is an amazing program, and just can't say enough about it. And this expungement clinic is something I think he is really wanting to get going here in Robertson County. So I think it's wonderful that y'all went and took a look at that.
Great experience. Gave me so much more respect and inspiration for the judge on a Saturday to get up, and 7 of us traveled to Bordeaux, North Nashville. I do want to shout out the Honorable Howard Gentry, who is the Metro Nashville criminal court clerk.
Okay.
Criminal court clerk, I believe. And you have to have the criminal court clerk working with the General Sessions judge for the actual expungement documentation process. Yeah. So I think we... I'm not sure who the particular clerk is in Robertson County. I think they're going through a transition, but that's part of the process. So I just wanted to shout out the Honorable Howard Gentry for the hospitality as well.
Okay, well, very good. And I mean, that's one of those partnerships that has to happen for the recovery court to happen.
Absolutely.
And so that's what they're hoping to work towards here in Robertson County. But again, just real excited to hear more about this. And I think I love this kind of stuff that you're bringing to us. I just think that's wonderful because we need to know more about this. And as we just kind of jumped right into the show. Good morning. How are you doing? It's Wednesday, and middle of the week. This is my CR night, so that's why I've got on my CR gear. I do Celebrate Recovery at Madison Church of Christ on Wednesday night. I say I'm the person who plugs in everything and kind of organizes it. So there's so many volunteers that come and work. So
nice.
We invite you to Celebrate Recovery tonight at Madison Church of Christ. We will feed you at 5:45. We have our large group at 6:30, and then we'll have our breakout, our open share at 7:15-ish. And so come and join us. And I was at Epiphany last night, Epiphany Baptist Church, heard an amazing testimony. Oh, my word. If you're not involved in Celebrate Recovery, you just don't know what you're missing, because it's just so inspiring to hear these life-changing stories. Yeah. Because Jesus just does amazing things in people's lives when you let him. But anyway.
Amen.
So, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's, U-turn.
Did y'all have a good holiday?
Great, safe holiday.
Good.
What about yourself?
We still haven't had Christmas, and everybody's like, what? We had like what we normally would have our Christmas the week before Christmas, because I've got 4 boys and they're all farmed out to all these different families and stuff. And so that's when we had 2 graduating from Tech. And Tech's graduations, I don't know who thought this was a good idea. They had it right before Christmas. And so rather than having it early December, they had it the weekend before Christmas.
I see.
And so we did, we had to do graduation stuff. And so by the time it was time for us we were going to come back around and have something on New Year's Day doing our Christmas. Well, one of my one of the boys' families got COVID. And so we couldn't be around them. And so we ended up just, kind of punting. And the only time we're going to do Christmas on January 30th.
Wow.
On the last Sunday in January. And so we've moved our family Christmas to then. So my tree's still up. It's artificial, so it doesn't matter. So it's all good, but it's just kind of weird. It's like, okay. So, the COVID thing, every time I've got people out, key volunteers. The Rainies are out today, and because of COVID exposures or positive tests or those kinds of things, and just pray for everybody to get well. But COVID has just really done a number, because it's this new strain is so infectious. It seems to be milder, but so infectious. Everybody's getting it, and so. I'm ready. We're all ready to move on, aren't we? But maybe this will lead us into herd immunity, and that's the hope.
So and with all due respect, I have family that are out of state from the West Coast, and they were here for the holidays, and they were just blown away. I hope I'm speaking not out of ignorance here, but just blown away as far as just the option, the choices, and compared to being in other states where it's more mandated. As far as the various processes. So and like you said, U-turn, we just hope that everyone continues to stay healthy, and we wish everyone the best. But just to see folks, either their choice of a mask or that process coming from a different state, they loved it, but at the same time, it was just a new experience for them, where it's a different ball game in other states.
Well, and what a lot of people are, when they come in and they're going, so I don't have to wear a mask? And like, no, you don't. And then because they've been in a state where you have to, they're not sure it's safe. They're not, they have questions. And then we go, well, look at the rate of infection that we have versus y'all. I haven't checked the numbers, but I don't think it's vastly different, because I think if Tennessee, being one that's not having mask mandates, had a higher rate of infection, trust me, that would be all over the news.
Absolutely.
It would be all over the news. They would exploit that like crazy. So I'm just saying, since I have not heard that, I'm thinking we're probably on the same page with the rate of infection. So, I don't know that I don't know. You do you, I'll do me. You do what you want to do, I'm going to do what I need to do.
Simple as that.
There you go. That's just it. So that's a hard topic to talk about, because boy, people get their back up real quick.
It is.
And I'm very cautious to say, I am not a medical professional. I got vaccinated because every single doctor taking care of me told me to.
Okay.
That's why I got vaccinated. I've had the booster. I don't think a mask does any good. Personally, that's just my opinion. You can, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I'm just ready to Herd immunity. Herd immunity.
I hear you. I hear you, sir.
Pray for it. Bring it, Lord. Anyway, okay, so we got a half hour here before your guest gets here. What do you want to talk about?
Couple things.
Okay.
A couple things that I have written down that we're going through. But one, just wanted to see if there's anything new on your side. U-turn. We haven't had a chance to really connect. It's been a while. Anything going on new on your side that I just
Is that Dominik?
That's why I like his style.
There you go. There you go.
Hey,
Is that
dude.
Dominik?
Yep.
Come on in
Come on,
here.
dude.
There's nothing. I'm just kind of the same,
Yep.
everything cool. How you doing, my friend? Come on in here,
Forgive me, I have
Dominik.
to pay my respects.
Yeah,
Hey, dude.
absolutely. Get on up there and greet your guest. And he's here early, and that's cool. You just come on in here. Because, Danavyn and I were just sitting here just kind of, I don't know, talk about whatever. We didn't have any major topics, so he was basically saying, "Hey, what's up, Laverne?" So y'all come on around this way. Hi, how are you doing?
Doing fine. How are
I'm
you?
Laverne. You're going to talk right into that microphone. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you here.
Yes.
So, and I can move this camera like this too. So
Okay.
I can do that. But now we've got cameras everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
So, all dressed up nice here. I'm in my old t-shirt and stuff, but thank y'all. Y'all look very handsome this
Thank you.
morning.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
for
you.
coming.
Thank you.
And so, Danavyn was just kind of telling me a little bit about, he didn't tell me your story.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said that he wanted you to kind of unpack your story, that it was an interesting story. So, hi.
Hi, how you
How are
doing?
you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's so good to have you here. So
Thanks.
where are you from?
Well, I'm from Robertson County.
Okay.
Family is from Robertson County.
Okay.
But we also moved over to the Davidson County area
Okay.
at an early age and stayed there most of my life as well.
Are you back here in Robertson now?
Yes, ma'am.
Welcome to God's country.
Yes, ma'am.
You know?
Yes, ma'am.
Don't we love it? But well, very good. Now, so how did you guys meet?
Deep.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, go.
So we I'm going to shout it out.
Okay.
The Metro Nashville Music City Community Court General Sessions Division 8 Expungement Clinic, and hosted by Judge Rachel Bell and the Honorable Howard Gentry. And the reason I'm explaining the full title is because this is the only expungement clinic in the state of Tennessee as of right now.
Yeah.
Where I believe they provide those services outside of traditional hours. So
Okay.
I really want to recognize what the Music City Community Court has put together and how they've been so gracious to show Judge Perry, the process. And so during that tour, they had a clinic going on, and during that we were invited to a tour, and that's when I met Dominik with our good friend, Pastor Robert Gardner at City of Faith. And we almost more of the younger folks on the tour, and so we just gravitated, asked questions, got to know each other's story.
Okay.
And just the wisdom that he spoke, I just said, hey, and the perseverance, I just had to get him on the show. And so that's how we met.
Okay, see, I didn't realize that y'all, because you had said that y'all were at the court together. I didn't
Yep.
realize that's when y'all actually met. So you new friends.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Very
Yes,
good.
ma'am.
I love it.
Yeah, I
I
love
love it. So very good. And he that's one thing, when you go out and you're in these places, you just, if you will open yourself up to hearing people's stories and getting to know each other, man, you just enrich your life so much. So he says you got a story to tell.
Yes, ma'am.
So go ahead.
Well, you're looking at a young man, and first I want to give honor to God, whose honor is
Amen.
due, because it's only by His grace and His mercy that I'm able to sit before you today. And I look at my life, and when I was talking to him, I didn't realize I was the only incarcerated person in the room. And he said, "Wow, I wouldn't have never knew that." I said, "Well, I don't carry myself as such, because we're not we're not the people that the mistakes we committed.
Amen.
We are chosen and we are ordained by God to be what He has created all us to be. And when our world figures out that and understand that we are all unique in His image, we can understand that. But understand that those places fill up because of the hurt, the pain, and the frustrations in communities. And for myself, I was a young man. My mother died at the age of 36, and I was 15, and she died of AIDS. And then 2 years later, after that, I watched my brother commit suicide playing with a gun. So what you do with a young man with those traumas, with what I say, and sometimes we don't know how to channel those, and we make decisions, and we make poor decisions if there's no one there to deal with that professionally. You have people in our lives that try to show us the way, but they only can show you for the benefits of what they've been shown themselves. And I don't say good parenting or bad parenting. I say parenting is by experience, and that's what my family was to me. And I had this wonderful lady in my life that's been in my life, had been in my life since I was 4 years old. God rest her soul, Miss Stephanie Mason, who was the assistant director here in Robinson County Schools. But she was like a mother figure, and she was young, coming into we actually met each other as she was coming into the teaching zone, and I was coming into the school. And she was a very instrumental in my life, and she never gave up hope on what I could be, and she never gave up on hope on the potential that she seen in me as a little boy. And I made poor decisions. I can give it that. And I went to prison for 8 years for murder. And like I said, it's only by God's grace and mercy that I'm standing here talking to you today, because he saw fit for me when I didn't see fit for myself. And what's so crazy about this story, after doing those 8 years, and once you get taken out of an environment that you're so used to seeing every day, and you're seeing something different, it's amazing, because I never seen nobody like myself that was successful. And we had programs in prison that was invented by incarcerated people, which was Project New Beginning, which helped us think critically outside the box on what we all had been taught as we was young coming up. And it's kind of crazy that you have programs in place like that try to help you outthink what you have always been taught, because it's kind of critical to tell somebody what the way you've been taught, the way you've been raised, the way you've been shown in your community, that's wrong. But once you're shown something different, let's give that person the opportunity to make different choices. And they had wonderful programs like Omega Psi Phi that came in, that brothers that looked like me, that was successful and went on to college and had good degrees and made their own business, and they came in and poured back into what the world seemed as dim or condemned because of the choices that we have made. And once I realized that, man, coming in a community of Robinson County and Davidson County, all you see is crime and drugs and alcohol and sex and all these different things. And I said I didn't want to be that. So I had to sit down and think, how did I wind up being that? I said, when I think about it, I said, my mom used to have a saying when I was a kid. She used to say, do as I say, not as I do. But how hard is that, and how critical is that to tell a child or tell anybody? Because most time experiences are done by what we see, not so much about what we are told. So being taken out of that environment and seeing something different, it gave me a way to think like, man, this is amazing. My life could be different. So coming out of incarceration, I said I would never come back to Robinson County, because I knew the people I hurt, their families is still here. And I look at my life now, it was only ordained by God, because here I am back in Robinson County, and more than all, the miracle of this story, I go to church with my victim's family, victim's sister. And when we look at life and mistakes and choices and bad choices that each individual make, I made a terrible choice, and I look at my life and I'm like, how can I forgive myself when people are still hurting? And this lady, her name is Denise, and she walks up to me at church. I had never been to City of Faith, and I had a friend that said, hey man, come and check our church out. So I went on a men's conference, and a lady came and tapped me on the back of my shoulder. She said, can I talk to you? And I'm like wondering in church, like,
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just, wow. Okay, go ahead.
And I'm like wondering what I did, and I let her tell her part if she ever get the opportunity, because it's the act of God. And I'm looking like, I'm in church. What did I do to this lady? So I stepped aside, and I said, yes, ma'am. She said, do you know who I am? And I said, no, ma'am. She said, that's my brother.
Wow.
And we both like boohoo like babies, and she told me how much she loved me, she forgive me, And it was only by God, because at these parole hearings, I'm out on parole, and I look at these parole hearings, she was the loudest victim in the family, saying, no, don't let him come home. Don't let him come home. But God touched her heart, and God seen that she needed to forgive in order for her to get her healing. Mm. So God administrated that, and now he's helping her administrate that healing through her family, and it's amazing. And people look at it and say, how could that happen? And I tell them it was all God, because it couldn't have been in my strength. It couldn't have been in her strength. Because you look at someone and saying, hey, you hurt my brother, and you still able to love me like I am your brother. That's only the act of God. But this story could be drawn out alone, because God has been truly amazing in my life. I serve as a minister up under Robert Gardner, and we just trying to do something in this community. And when I was a little kid, Robeson County had a swimming pool right behind the middle school, and I look at our community. There's nothing here for the children, which we're trying to incorporate something in this community as far as the Brands for Pride Center and other community things that we're trying to do that can help bring crime out of our communities. Because only crime is in this community and in our communities all over the world because we allow it. Mm-hmm. And it's always in the black community that we shun each other, because we look at letting the police do their job as being snitches. What so call it? They told on me, and we're afraid because we don't want that stigma that, oh, you a snitch. And once we get away from that stigma of letting crime in, because it only happens because we, like I said, we allow it, and go back into our communities, because people don't wake up and say, hey, I want to be a robber, I want to sell dope, I want to use dope. It's things that happen in their lives that cause them to make those choices. But we have to realize people are people, and life happens to everybody, and no one is excluded. And we had to come back to realize that we're all one in this world. God made us all one, and we have to be in that unique space and realize that that same person that's sitting in incarceration could be your uncle, could be your father, could be your sister, your brother, and so on. And we have to bring back those relationships. And while incarcerated, I was with a fellow named Roger Johnson, which is still incarcerated for on a life sentence. But these people are unique, and we started a program called I'm going ahead of myself. God Loves First, and it helps us build back relationships in the communities that we have caused so much pain, to let people know, yeah, we made these choices, and we made horrible choices, and we can't get about that. There are horrible choices, but we are still people. And once we get to realize that we are people and we are unique, we all can be one. And also work with my dear brother Raheem Buford on Unheard Voices, to help people once they come back in the community to be separated, be different. Because when you go to prison, most people that come to prison come out and try to forget that experience. And then you say, well, how people get reoffended? Is because one, I can see now the opportunity is broad and is opening for federal and felon committees for people that's coming out of prison to do something better for themselves and for the community. So I thank God for those opportunities. But what do you do for a person that have sold drugs all their life? How can you show them something different once they come back into the society? Because once they come back into the society, we have to realize, if you put them back in that same environment, what are their chances to go back to what they've always known all their life? So there's a lot of people out here that are willing to give the opportunity, but where those relationships come at? The relationships need to start before the individual is released from incarceration. So it's nothing to fear, because we all make decisions and choices in our life. So I tell my people in the community not to be afraid, because this could be your son or your niece or your daughter. So look at that person as that individual as it was your own family member. So we can help build those relationships, because if we build a relationship, the chance of that individual being more than what they was before they was incarcerated is tremendously high, and the recidivism rate will tremendously drop. And so that's what we are trying to do here in this community, bring back to something for our young kids, because right now we have people statistically saying this child's going to be incarcerated. Why would these children be incarcerated? Because it's nothing for them for them to move forward then here in this community. And man, it's amazing. I see what God's about to do in this community, and it's going to be amazing.
Wow.
Powerful.
Wow, you're right, Danavyn. He has a story. God bless you. You're beautiful. Your story. I can just see your heart and your love for this and what you're doing, and God is using you mightily.
Yes.
And that is so clear. Wow. I'm so honored to know you. I'm just like, what a breathtaking story. And that you mentioned Stephanie. I met Dr. Kazi is sitting out there because, he loves her so much, and losing her like we did just was so tragic, and that she was a part of this with you. And I guess I've got so many questions. I'm sure others have questions, but if you have questions, you can put them in comments. I do have to do my commercials because I haven't done anything yet. I've just let you roll because I was such a breathtaking testimony. And I'm sitting here thinking, have you ever heard of Celebrate Recovery? Man, we need you.
Yes, ma'am.
We need you in Celebrate Recovery. Have you ever gotten involved?
No, ma'am, but I heard we have a couple of individuals that we usually take in our homes at our church that comes from Celebration Recovery. So
man, you got such a testimony to share, because they've started a thing called The Landing at Celebrate Recovery up here at Epiphany Baptist on Tuesday nights, and it's for kids. It's for kids, man.
Wow.
They could use you involved. We'll have to talk afterwards about that, but I've just been so amazed at the work that you can do when you just get involved in lives. And that's what, you were talking about how, and I know I said I was going to do commercial, but you were talking about how that in your incarceration, you were getting at the core of why you were there. And that's the heart of what CR is like, why is this going on in your life? What's going on at the heart? What's going on at home? What's going on just in your self-esteem? Things like that's causing you to want to do these things. And when you get to the core of it, that's where you find true healing. And man, they certainly,
and I know you try to take a commercial break, I was telling my brother here, and he said, well, how do you change and how do you bring change about in the community? I said, first, you just can't come out jumping, running. Yeah. And I've been free now, going on 7 years. But I look at my life, in order to see a change, you got to be the change.
Amen.
And that's what I was trying to do. I had to come home and establish myself to let people know that, because statistically they say the first 5 years is the most critical of a person being out of incarceration. So I've been doing a little mentorship here and there with children to show them, but you have to give them something. You just can't talk. You got to be able to give them something tangible that they can see that, hey, if you want me to change from where I come from and where I was raised at, give me something better. Yeah. So there has to be an alternative. But what that alternative, I haven't figured out yet. Maybe I'll have some good ideas.
Yeah.
But
that's amazing. But that was one of my questions I had for you is how long have you been free? And so what an amazing story. But we gotta stop for a second. And talk about let's start with Reiselman Buick GMC. Good friends over here, Todd and Courtney Reiselman. They picked Robertson County when it came to time for them to buy a dealership. They were looking across the country, and they saw what we had in our community, and they said, we want to be a part of that community. And so they picked us, and I love that about them, is that they selected Robertson County, and they came here and they've built their business, wonderful business. And it is a great place for you to go and check out something new for 2022, or if you want a pre-owned vehicle, you can even get online and check out the inventory. They've got pre-owned and new featured on the website at ReiselmanBuickGMC.com. You can drive by there and see all the great selections that they've got. Those trucks, that Sierra with that 6-function multi-pro tailgate. So nice. I know Dr. Kazi, he's starting to look, and we were talking about that yesterday. If it's a new ride you need, they have got leasing and financing options available. If you don't find exactly what you want, well, you can order it. It's so simple. Go in and they'll help you walk through that, or as we've said a lot, you can go to the website, and the first thing that pops up is order my new vehicle. Website works great. You can even make a service appointment online. They have a service department that is open every single day that the dealership is open. Their hours vary from the dealership hours, but they're there every day. You can get things taken care of. But again, a great dealership, great friends. not just to this program, but to the community. Go by and see them there at 2516 Memorial Boulevard. You can give them a call at 615-384-3559, 615-384-3559. Riceman and Buick GMC. When you go by there, please tell them that U-Turn sent you. And back to the show here. I'll tell you, just an intriguing show. Thank you, Danavyn, for bringing Dominik in. This is just amazing. I'm just so glad to know you, and man, my head is spinning. I definitely want to. We'd love to plug you in with Celebrate Recovery and those kiddos over at the Landing. I can't imagine.
Yes, ma'am.
That's something, yes, if you're
ma'am.
free on Tuesday night.
Yes, ma'am.
You need to come see.
Okay.
Come see us.
Most definitely.
But anyway, and I know the work that y'all do through your church is just amazing. I haven't gotten your pastor in here. Ever since he retired, he's busier than ever. I've reached out to him a couple of times, and y'all need to tell him he needs to come in here and talk to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I love that. I just love his story. And him and his precious bride. Oh, my goodness. She's a doll, too. I just love her. I've had her on before. But just so sweet. So, wow. Okay. So, in regards to what are you doing now? I mean, so what's your life like now?
Well, right now, I work a full-time job. I've been working this job since I've been free, and I got home in 2015. 2 days later, I went through a program. It takes so many programs, I can't even remember though. It's a Tennessee prison ministry in Nashville. And,
oh yeah,
I'm Don Fierce.
What's the guy's name?
It's a young lady.
Tennessee Prison Outreach Ministry.
Yes,
T-POM.
Yeah, T-POM.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, we work with that with our church.
Okay, and I went. I met a lady named Don Fierce, and she knew a guy at my job, and that's what she was the job replacement at helping people, and I didn't really get to finish the program because was introduced to this man named Sean, he was the production manager at our facility now, and he was an ex-police officer from New York in 20 years. And when I presented myself, he said, "If you're willing to work, I'll start you tomorrow." And I had to come out with this theory, making 17 cents an hour in prison. So when I came home, I said, "There's nothing that I'll be able to do or wouldn't do if someone asked me, because I come from making 17 cents an hour." So I asked, he said, is there nothing you won't do? I said, well, as long as if you tell me to go on the roof, I go on the roof as long as you pay me.
Yeah.
But you just have to have that different mindset that my life is going to be different than what it was before. And that's just been in my mind, and I've been able to climb up the ladder at my job. It's called Central Woodworking, and we make windows and doors. Came up the ladder. I'm an inventory manager now. Just amazing what God can do. And like I told my boss, I said I never worked anywhere this long, and I've been there almost 7 years. And I just thank God the same. I just give Him honor because it's only by His grace and His mercy.
Oh, amen. Yeah. That is amazing. I love that. And I love the Tennessee Prison Outreach Ministry, because that's one of them. I work at the Madison Church of Christ. Okay. And they're one of the supporters of that. And the Coxes that founded that ministry came out of the Madison Church. So we've got a long, long history with Tennessee Prison Outreach Ministry. So I'm just thrilled to see your testimony for that. That's amazing. Yes, but, man, I'll tell you, you want to chime in here with anything, Dominik?
I'm just so grateful that Dominik was able and open to just coming down to share a story. As you can see, U-Turn, once he just started to speak from the heart, I just feel like, of course, myself, but anyone else that has an ear need to hear this message. So I just thank you, for just coming down. And I'm glad that, Judge Joe Perry and Judge Rachel Bell, coordinated this tour for us to meet, and I'm just honored for you to be here.
So the program that you guys went to look into, the expungement clinic, how important do you think that is for the community?
It's very important, especially here in Robeson County, because you look, people, we got this big old jail down here on the top of the hill, and you got to realize it's tax dollars we're spending. If you give a person the chance, like I said earlier, to do something different, most likely they will do something different, but they got to know the resources to make those choices. Because if there's no resources here, you might as well forget it. That jail going to continue to fill up every day. But once we get some resources in this community, because you got to realize Springfield is a unique community. Robeson County is a unique community. The reason why I say that, because everybody knows everybody. It's not like when you go to Nashville, you see crime on the news or you see robberies on the news. Most of the time you see somebody in the community going to jail or have done something on the news or Smokey Barnes. Someone knows them people.
Yeah.
And it's very traumatic to the community, because you're looking at these individuals like, man, I know these people. Why do they do that? Or why couldn't they do something different? Because my parents know their parents, and it's just like amazing. It's like no other community, because everybody knows everybody.
Yeah, and it's one thing too, when you talk about, people don't really understand the expungement process. You can do something as a young person that's just a lot of times wrong place at the wrong time. Just the non-felonies type crimes, and what will happen is that's on your record, and you feel like, well, what's the use? You feel like once you get that first mark, why even try? But if you've got a path for somebody to get a fresh start, a truly fresh start, to really clear that record and to say, okay, I'm gonna start again, because oftentimes those things that happen, they truly are just it almost out of their control. They get sucked into something, and it's so crucial to give these people who are really seeking a fresh start a chance to start again, because working in the benevolence like I do, the people who will come out of prison can't even rent an apartment because they've got a record. They can't get a job. The fact that you ran into somebody that would put you to work right away, all that prison ministry is amazing what they do, and the connections and those programs to help you make those connections and get those jobs and things like that. But for somebody that hasn't made those connections, maybe when they were incarcerated, and they really don't know where to go, they're just going to fall right back in, because they figure, that's that slippery slope. You take one stumble and you just keep going. And by getting that expungement available to people, it's like, no, I can really start new. I can clear my record, and I can fill out a job application and say no, instead of and here's the explanation. Yeah,
because you're living that stuff all over again, and it's just crazy that you said, we was talking about homes, and when people coming out, we got wonderful transitional homes, but what can a person do after they made that transition? Because I can say myself, the first 6 months of being home after going to a halfway house and trying to get my own apartment, I lost $400 in application fees, because every time I fill it out, and we can't accept you because of this, or we can't accept you because of that. And, you didn't put this on there. Well, it was 20 years ago. I didn't remember that. But I called one lady, and I told her, I gave her the whole spiel. I said, look, ma'am, I don't spend all this money in application fee. This is what I've done. She like, I like your honesty. Come in and fill out the application. We'll try to see what we can do to get you this apartment. And they gave me a chance. It's off Stewart's Ferry Pike. It's just a little small apartment, and from there, it's been uphill from there. But you got to give people that opportunity.
That's incredible. And I mean, this is something that is just a real passion for me, because I meet so many people living on the dad blame street because they can't even rent when they're out there working because they've got something on their record. And the expungement is huge. And is there any chance, in your, I mean, you share as much as you want to, but in your story, did you have earlier things that kind of made you feel like that you had just like, I've already messed up? Did you have that in your life that maybe led you to committing more crime? Because you were just like, I've already messed up. I got a record. Who cares?
Yeah, I got my first offense as a juvie. And then it went from there. And I try to tell kids, you start off small. Then eventually it grows. Well, if I got away with once, maybe I can do it again. It's like that adrenalism. If I got away once, I might can get away again. But not everybody has that theory. But for me, that was like, wow, that was fun. I got away with it. But then it trickles down. It gets bigger. But most people make those decisions because it's the only thing they've been shown. I came from a good family, and my family made some good choices. A lot of them did make some good choices, but a lot of them made some bad choices. But I had a lot of trauma as a youngin', and I just didn't know how to channel it which way to go with it, because it's like you're walking through life with a blindfold on. And I had no one to show me or really how to open up, because my father was in and out. But I don't blame him for that, because I guess he did the best he could. But with men, we got to have more men in these young men's lives, because it's hard for a woman to raise a man. So many women do it, and I congratulate every woman that's raising a young man, because it's difficult. And the world already tell us we got to toughen up, don't cry. So if I see a young man crying today, that's my thing. Let them feel what they feel. No, you don't want them hooping and hollering and running around the house, but let him feel his emotions, because I say today, prisons are filled up with men because men don't know how to bottle their emotions.
Can you say that again?
Prisons are filled up with men because men don't know how to bottle their emotions. Because we showed to be tough. The world is for a man to be tough. You got to muscle up and take the world as it is. And that's not the way to raise a young man, because God gave us feelings just as well he gave women feelings. But we got to be in a healthy place, in a safe place for men to be men. Mm-hmm. Because it's hard for a woman to show a man how to be a man. Mm-hmm. But it's easy for a woman to show a young woman how to be. That's why a lot of our women are successful, because we have women that are successful showing women how to be successful. Mm-hmm. So we're lacking in our community where successful men are lacking to show men to be men. And that's why I'm glad I met Danavyn, because I was amazed of what he was doing, what he's doing in the community, what he's doing now, and just his story himself. And I'm like, man, there are men like that, because coming from in my community, I've seen drugs, pimps, and all type of stuff. And it's just like, man, to see a young black man doing something productive without those stigmas, man, it's amazing. And for what God has brought him from himself.
I love this. Yeah. This is just so fun. I could just let y'all talk we could just, I got to do another commercial because I got 2 more to do. But if you've missed this show, you need to go back and listen to it, because, oh my goodness, this has been an absolutely amazing 40 minutes already. So thank you. Good job, Danavyn.
Thank you.
Good job. He sent me a message last week and was kind of telling me what he was doing, but I just had no idea. But what an amazing story. All right, so we're going to pause for just a minute. If you have any questions for Dominik, and Dominik, or how am I supposed to pronounce your name?
It don't need mama. I tell people, just don't call me late for dinner.
But Dominik?
Yes, ma'am.
Dominik.
Yes, ma'am.
And but we got Dominik Hudson here, and Danavyn Hylton's here as well. And I'm here, but I'm just listening. So, but I do have to remind you about our sponsors, Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Store. Go and check them out. This is the time of year. I know everybody's like, I don't want to think about my garden yet. Well, you need to, because when we have milder temperatures, and especially with all the moisture, this is the weekend. Well, I'm not sure what the forecast is, but if you can get probably Thursday, you want the ground to be have the water to have kind of drained off a little bit. But while you've got that moisture in the ground, if you have some milder temperatures, that is the time to turn over your soil, to get the grass off of an area maybe that you're wanting to put a little garden spot. It's the time to get it prepped, because that way when the spring hits, you will be ready. You can go and talk to Amy, go talk to Miss Jane about what you want to put in your garden. If you want to put in a vegetable garden this year, if you're wanting to maybe just plant something beautiful right off the corner of your house and you don't really know what to put there, now's the time to plan for that. But you got to get your ground ready, and it's a great time to do it when the ground's not frozen, but it's good and moist. Oh, it's effortless compared to when it's dry and hot, and all just difference between night and day, guys. Trust me on this. And they are also your Robertson County source for CBD products. CBD has been a great help for me with my arthritis. It's also a great sleep aid for folks, all kinds of stuff. My mother uses it. She's 82 years old. I mean, it's good for skin conditioning. I'm talking to Brian Pooley. We've talked so much about what happened when he got into some fire ants down in Arkansas, that CBD was the thing that gave him relief. And we have discovered it's great for bug bites. It's amazing. And it is a Robertson County product. And you can go and talk to him and get the oils, get the salves. They've got coffees, all kinds of things infused with Robertson County CBD. And if you want to know more, go and talk to Amy Corbin, Miss Jane, all the folks out there. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 4, Sunday from 1 to 4, and you can give them a call, 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185, 4920 Highway 161 is where they're located. Go by and tell them today that U-Turn sent you. I've got Dominik, I don't know why I want to say Dominik Hudson and Danavyn Hylton are in the house with us here on 1 Street Over, and they're gonna be back. We're gonna have to talk some more. And I really, I'm just sitting here. I need to call the Driscolls and say, have y'all met Dominik? We need to get you involved in Celebrate, because your testimony is so powerful. And I mean, do you share your story in the schools? And I mean, where are you going to share this story?
Well,
how can we get you out there more?
Well, mainly we do at church. I also part of Project Return. I go over and help and mentor, talk to some of the guys and ladies that recently has been incarcerated less than a year, to show them that there is opportunities here, that we got to do something different, mainly. But and I mentor a couple of young kids at church. But other than that, no, I haven't had that platform. So
well, we got to help you find that platform. I mean, for sure. You got a platform here. Anytime you want to come in and talk.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know Dr. Chris Causey, the director of schools?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I would think because of Stephanie you would.
Yes, ma'am.
And just sharing, because I know how close they were. And I mean, there's got to be a way to share your story in the schools.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the kids need to hear this.
Yes, they do.
They need to hear your story and to hear how this happened. And I mean, can you kind of, I mean, how did you lost your mom, so you didn't really start down this path until after you lost your mom?
Yes,
Were you
ma'am.
pretty much on the
Yes, ma'am.
on track?
Yes, ma'am.
So you didn't get your first offense until after
Yes,
your
ma'am.
mom.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you were just kind of acting out.
Yeah.
Really, losing your mom and stuff like that. So I mean, those are the kinds of things that, because I mean, so many kids will something will happen, and then before you know it, they have reacted to that, and they're into something, and then they're like, oh, I already got a record, so what does it matter? So go ahead.
And it was more for me. I really started acting out after I watched my brother commit suicide, playing with that gun. It was just very dramatic, and I blame myself because I didn't stop him. But after going through really counseling and really understanding the situation, it was all designed by God. There's nothing that I could have done to stop that moment, but I had to forgive myself for all those things that I blame myself for. And self-forgiveness is the most important thing for an individual to move in life. If you get forgiveness from others, but self-forgiveness is the most important. And I'm still trying to walk in that today because, like I said, my victim's sister, she speaks to me about that every day. Dominik, it's okay. Forgive yourself. Walk in love. Walk in purpose. And that's what I'm trying to do every day. I speak to myself. You're not a murderer. You're not this and that I tell myself, because self is the worst critic. People tell us that we are this and that, but what we look in the mirror and see, that's the most important thing, because that's what keeps us from being our true selves and coming into that destiny God wants us to live.
Oh man, incredible stuff. I'm just, wow. You got anything to add here?
I'm just taking notes.
Yeah.
And, I'm taking notes, but I do want to bring it back to one thing Dominik said as far as just young men, especially black men, especially as far as just channeling your emotions and having a safe place to do that. It's rare. It's lacking, humbly I say. And that's why I wanted to stop no matter what I was doing and just get up. And I don't think I do that much to folks that are guests on the show, but get up and show my respect to you for coming in here, because we don't have enough of this, including myself. We don't have enough of this, and I just really appreciate you coming here and just sharing. I've learned a lot from you, and I've gotten even more motivation, respect, and just appreciation for who you are, what you're doing, obviously for the families that you're working with as well, and I'm just lost for words. I've been holding indirect tears because I really feel, what everything you're saying is coming from the heart, and you're putting the work with the faith as well.
Yes, sir.
Amen.
Have to.
Amen. And the one thing that you said is you were just sharing your testimony, and that's what we call it at CR is Celebrate Recovery. Is you got a testimony, and while you've got one, is that you were talking about the things that you see coming. So can you kind of give us some of the plans that you guys are making? That I'm just kind of in the foundation is your church, and tell them a little bit about your church and the work that you're doing and where you're located, because it's I hear such amazing things out of that congregation. So can you plug the church for us?
Okay, so City of Faith is 1001 Goldcrest Drive, up on a hill. Our pastor Robert Gardner he's not the founding pastor, but Reverend Hines, his father. And it's kind of amazing to see his relationship that he had with his father. and his father embedded within him the ministry of Jesus Christ. And what draws me about Mr. Gardner, he really wants to know his memories. He want to know his communities and what need to be done here, and how it came about. After I came to his church, and he called me up and he wanted to know who I was, and that's what we had to do in ministry. Get to know your people, and that relationship is more important, because everybody, I'm pretty sure, done heard of the message of Jesus Christ. But the demonstration is the most important, because you can teach me Jesus, talk about Jesus Christ all you want. But if you're not showing me demonstration of Jesus Christ and what Jesus done, if you can't demonstrate that, how are you going to be effective in the ministry? And I think Robert Gardner is an amazing person in doing that, because he tell me all the time, he said, it's not for me to change it, it's for me to water you and let God do the changing. Mm-hmm. And so many pastors get it wrong. It's nobody's fault. They're only doing what they've been told and what they've been shown. But you got to come out of a demonstration of religion. So many churches that have this doctrine, religion, or it got to go by the books, it got to go by this. There's no room for gray. And Jesus was all the way room for gray, because he done everything that people thought he shouldn't do. And so many churches get that wrong, and we lose people. You lose people all the time when you get stuck by the book and what tradition. People will never walk into your building, because how can they be different and accept a message when you're not showing them nothing different? Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time that come and does prison ministry, people do that because Jesus gave that parable. When I was sick, you visit me. When you helped me get well. When I was in prison, you visit me. Most people already done heard the message of Jesus Christ in prison. The relationship is more important than anything. So you can tell me Jesus, but if you're not trying to build a relationship, we don't need to conversate, because it's more than that. It's deeper than that with me.
There was a woman that she's passed, but Dawn Ferguson, that she used to say she was kind of somebody that really inspired some of the things that we're doing now at the Benevolent Center where I work. And she used to say that to change someone's life, you have to be part of their messy life. Right. And she said it much more eloquently than that, but that was basically the message, is if you really want to bring change in these lives, you got to be a part of it. You got to get in there and be there with them, because if you're not willing to be there with them, you're just, it's just noise. Right. It's just noise. And
our mother of the church, you said you had an Miss Peggy Gardner. What an amazing, phenomenal woman. And we have a program called The Overcomers. We do it Tuesdays and Saturday mornings, but it's a place where you can come in, it's safe, you can be yourself. It's Bible based, but in order to get what God is calling us to be, we got to be broken from the things that have so much held us back from being that unique person God wants us to be. And she's amazing at that. I love her, and she called me her spiritual son, because it's one thing to be born into a family, but it's one thing for someone to say they prayed for you and didn't even know you. And that's what they do for me, and I love them dearly.
Yeah, absolutely. They're good people. I don't know them well, but everything that I've seen of that couple, they are a power couple here in this community, and I just love her. I got the opportunity to interview her one time, and she's just fun. She's just awesome. And but yeah, you got to get them. Tell them I need them to come in here. I tell you, I wouldn't if you would think this would be something that you said the sister of your victim, if y'all wanted to come in sometime and us talk about your experiences, we could even do that.
Yes,
I mean, that would be
she'd be willing to do that. I know she would.
I think that would be an amazing hour, is to bring you guys in and just talk about that forgiveness and redemption and healing that just. As you were telling this, it was as you were sharing your testimony and just talking about how this woman, and I saw, you can kind of see where the story's going, that I knew you were going to say this is your victim's sister. It's just, I can't even imagine that moment. I just can't. And anyway, go ahead. Were you
and she's helping with her family. Like he has two sisters, and just to look at both of them and hear them say, Dominik, we never hated you. We love you. It's just amazing. It just brings tears to my eyes just to think about that, because you look at people, and I lost my dear cousin to this crime as well, and I just look at the pain that I feel alone of losing him, and I couldn't imagine the pain they feel, and it just brings back all those memories and just of how everything corresponded in the community. But we got to get away from that and bring this community back where we used to have back in the day. I know when I was a kid, if you act up down the street, you got a whooping down the street. We got to bring it takes a tribe to raise one child, and we have to get back to the ground of that, because if Danavyn is a baby to speak life into my child and correct my child, why can't I be able to do that to him? But we're not able to do that in our communities anymore. But it's been evident that it has worked so many years, but we just have to get back to that.
Absolutely. You're just good stuff. And we're going to be running out of time. I still got to do one more ad, but we're going to come back and wrap it up with Dominik Hudson and Danavyn Hylton. My guest in studio, just a powerful testimony that you're getting this morning. If you missed it, I encourage you to go back and listen to it, and we're going to figure out how to get you a better platform, because you need one, obviously. We're going to pause for just a minute, and we're going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Their invitation to you in 2022 is be a part of their team. They have got a great opportunity for you to step into real estate and to learn what it's all about. There's great benefits, and you got a great team that will bring you on and train you and get you acclimated to it. So the invitation's out there. Is that something that you're interested in, that you're curious about? Reach out to Becky, reach out to Barry, and you can contact them at sellwithbecky.com, or you can go see their listings at robertsoncounty.com, and there's a link there. You can connect with them. But they, just go and kind of see what they do, and that'll help you see maybe what you want to do and what you want to be a part of. They specialize in Robertson County, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties across the state line up in Kentucky. They're the whole package. She's been at this a very long time, one of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist, which illustrates that she's always studying, staying up on what you need to know. And he is a marketer. That's unique in their team. Having somebody that came out of a marketing background. He was a vice president of a marketing company up in Nashville. Came out of a marketing background, went full-time in real estate a little while back. So, if you've got properties that you want to make sure people know about so you can get top dollar, he's your guy to walk you through and teach you how to do that. Barry and Rebecca Richards, Exit Realty Garden Gate team. Do you want to be part of the team? Do you have property to buy or sell? Reach out to them today. Sellwithbecky.com or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com. Always tell them U-Turn sent you. And we are going to wrap up our interview here. We got Lee Marie coming in with the Go Show. She'll be in here in just a couple of minutes here from 8 to 9 o'clock. But what are we missing, guys? Anything that we need to kind of wrap up our time together? But this is, again, just the first time, because we're going to talk some more. We got to do this. This is awesome.
I just thank you, U-Turn Vern, for this opportunity. And more than all,
pleasure.
I thank God for the unique experience with Danavyn, because nothing in life happened by accident. We just had to take those experiences and move and operate in excellence in everything we do. Because I tell people I want to go to heaven, but if I chose to go to hell, I wouldn't want to go on a Pinto.
I love it. That's awesome. God bless y'all. Danavyn, do you have any parting remarks?
Yeah, just real quick, just a year and a half of us having the show.
Yeah, no.
And just building a working relationship. I met and built a working relationship with Judge Joe Perry through you. So I thank you. I thank you, Dominik, for stopping by. Also, just want to shout out real quick, Judge Rachel Bell and criminal court clerk Howard Gentry in Metro Nashville for their expungement clinics. They've been doing these for years. And I also thank them for inviting Judge Joe Perry to check it out. And I thank Judge Joe Perry for inviting his Robertson County friends to tour with him. And that's how Dominik and I met.
Yeah.
And for that reason, if you can, try to stay out of it, but make sure you stop by Judge Joe Perry's campaign kickoff tomorrow. He's doing a lot of great work in the community. And I think it's evident, especially with Mr. Greg Bell joining us as well on the show, and he was able to join us on the tour. So just thank you all.
Very much. And since you mentioned the judge, I'll remind you again that tomorrow is paid programming
from 7 to 7:30, Judge Joel Perry will be on here. It is a paid political program just to kick off his campaign, because that's happening tomorrow night, and he'll give you all the specifics of that. I'm planning on stopping by his kickoff for just a few minutes. I've got another meeting I've got to go to, so I won't be there, but just for the very first little part of it. But he will be with us tomorrow, so you'll hear from the judge tomorrow morning. The work he's doing in the recovery community, the work he's doing to really he's going to get this expungement clinic here, and it is vital. It's going to happen. So definitely want you to be sure and be here tomorrow, 7 to 7:30, to hear from Judge Joel Perry as he kicks off his campaign. Paid political programming, remember. And then we'll have, of course, Ace and Brian from United Way. They'll be on at 7:30. And just, good stuff happening. Lee Marie, she'll be on her way in here. And thank you again for being a part of our show. Thank you, gentlemen, so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys. God bless y'all.
God bless
and
you.
it's time for me to go. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless.